everyone, and welcome to this month's Tech Tip Tuesday video. Today we are going to talk about a functionality in M1 called invoice offsets. Before we get into M1, let's define what an invoice offset actually is. There are two types of invoice offsets. There is an AP invoice offset and an AR invoice offset. Their purpose is for those organizations where you sell and buy items from them. This could result in where at some point they owe you money and you owe them money, or vice versa. Yes, you could send checks back and forth, or you can do an offset. Basically, one offsets the other. So how do I decide which one to use? Well, it really is based on what do you have to do at the end of the transaction. If you have to send them payment, then you would do the offset in the accounts payable module. If they have to send you payment, then you would do the transaction in the accounts receivable module. So today's video is concentrating on AR invoice offsets. And so this means we are going to be receiving payment from an organization. If you have a need to learn more about AP invoice offsets, that was in last month's Tech Tip Tuesday video, so please take time to watch that. Here is the example we will use for today. We have Sparks Industries, who is a customer and a supplier. We have an invoice in the system where we owe them $5,000. They also owe us $10,000 from a sales order. Once we process this in M1, the end result will be that they owe us $5,000. So let's now go ahead, move into M1, and see this in action. Before we do look at the actual financial process, let's take a look at the setup of Spark Industries. So I'm going to go into Contact Management, search in Organization Entry, and pull up the organization Sparks. And further down here on the organization card, you can see here there is a customer status and a supplier status. In order to be able to do offsets, you need to have both the customer status and the supplier status active. The other thing I want to show you before we actually get into processing the transaction is the invoices. So we do have our AP invoice here, where you can see this is where we owe them $5,000. And this is an invoice, of course, that is posted. You'll also be able to see over in the AR side, we have our invoice here for Sparks that we have for the invoice balance of $10,000, and this invoice is also posted. Okay, now that we've seen that we have all of our background data in the way of our two invoices posted and our organization is set up as both an active customer and supplier, let's go ahead and process the transaction. Now, again, just to reiterate, I'm going into accounts receivable and I'm going to do this in AR payment entry because at the end of the transaction, what's going to happen is I am receiving money from the organization. All right, so that's why we're using AR and not AP. So I'm going to go ahead, start my session here like I normally would. The receipt date, of course, just is today's date. Since this is when I'm starting the payment session, that's totally fine. And the fiscal year, fiscal period, don't need to do anything with that. Now in the deposit amount field, this is where I need to put in what is the amount that I'm expecting from the customer. So earlier we had said that I'm expecting from them $5,000. I should say from the organization. And that's all I need to do on this screen for now. We're now going to head over to our AR payment header and go ahead and start that. Now here, the key piece that triggers this as an AP invoice offset is what you choose in the receipt type dropdown. So I'm going to change this to AP invoice offset. Now again, don't let that AP confuse you. because we're just saying that within this payment session of what we're receiving in, we're going to be applying something from the AP side, and that is an AP invoice. All right, so that's what that exactly means. So we're going to choose AP invoice offset. Now, the reason why this is unique to M1 and works so well is because I can do all of this in one screen. I don't have to do something on the AR side and then go and do something on the AP side. Everything is here. All right, so I don't have to change anything. Let's go ahead and pull in some data. So in the customer ID field is where I'm going to put Sparks. So let's go ahead and find them here on my list and pull that in. And that will pull in, of course, all of their open items. And so if I scroll down here a little bit, we can see here that you can see the AP invoice offset details. So the invoice that I owe them for $5,000. And if I scroll further down, you can see the invoice that they owe us for the $10,000. So again, it's all in one screen. Now I'm going to come back up here. My payment method, they're paying us by direct debit. So I'm just going to choose that. So we're good to go there. And then in the amount field is where we're going to type in, again, our $5,000. So right now, I have $5,000 remaining outstanding that I have to apply for this offset. So the very first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and come down here to the AP invoice offset details grid, locate basically what we want to apply, and click the pay box. All right, so now we can see that we have 5,000 outstanding and up here, and we have a new balance of 0 down below here. I'm going to come down here further and just apply and check the box here next to this payment amount, which now zeroes this out. If I scroll back up to the top here, we can now see that there is no amount remaining here in regards to receipt values, and the session values we have is $5,000. So I've done the offset. At this point, I can go back to my payment session header, and at this point we are good to go. I can do normally my edit list, and then I can post this without issue. And there we go. That's how easy it is to do an AR invoice offset. And that will bring us to the end of today's video. For now, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and thank you for being an M1 customer.